Okay, I think we're ready to start. So I'm Lorraine Gallagher, moderator for North Windham Union Church. I'm here with Tom Wiley, moderator for Raymond Village Community Church. And together we are delighted to call this meeting to order. Is everybody ready? Everyone coming in from outside? Okay. So it's just a great day. We're looking forward to having our joint meeting today and continuing in our journey of faith. And towards that, Tom is going to open with a prayer today.
Two points of business. North Windham does a sign-in, so there is a yellow notepad going around. If everybody could sign in, we'll have a record of attendance. And for the audience, Red Gallagher will be walking around with a microphone if you have a comment. So find Red. So as Lorraine said, we always begin the Raymond meetings with a prayer. This is to remember our covenant with each other, and our annual meetings, our congregational meetings are always open with this prayer. We pray that God will guide our conversations and deliberations during this meeting. May we be humble and gentle, and be patient with each other, bearing with one another because of Christ's love. Ephesians 4:2. May we speak our thoughts using I. This shows that each of us knows that I am my own and I am responsible for my thoughts. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Tom. The next item is to declare a quorum. So I will ask Liesl Turner if we have a quorum from North Windham Community Church.
We do.
Okay. Tom?
For Raymond Village Community Church, Judy Munson, is there a quorum?
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so we do have declared quorums from both churches. And I am now going to ask for a motion to approve the minutes from the North Windham Union Church semi-annual meeting that was held on May 19th, 2024. May I have a motion, please? Or is there any discussion?
I move we accept the report as presented.
John Knox, thank you. And do I have a second? Jim Smith has seconded the motion. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor of approval? Any opposed? Okay, the motion passed.
The second approval of minutes is on page 8 of the annual report. It's from the annual meeting January 21st, 2024 from Raymond Village Community Church. Is there a motion to accept the minutes? Rolf Olson. Is there a second? Second. Carol Gilman. Is there any discussion? All in favor of approving the minutes as presented, say aye. Aye. The next approval is for both churches. This is for North Windham and Raymond Village Community Church. It is a special meeting held on September 22nd in which we entered a four-way covenant to call Pastor Brian. In the annual report, it's found on page 10. Is there a motion to approve those minutes? Angel Donovan, is there a second? Bonnie Wiley, is there any discussion on those minutes? None appearing, I shall call for a vote. All approve the minutes of the September 22nd four-way covenant meeting. Say aye. Aye. Motion approved.
The next item, we have the pleasure of asking Liesl Turner and Deb Fegans to come forward from the Unification Committee and to give us a little bit of information as to what the Unification team has been doing. You can come, yeah, come on up and you can, yeah. Is that mic not working?
No, maybe it's not, I'm not sure. Good morning, Liesl Turner. Thank you all for being here. As I said, Deb and I have been asked to just share an update on how the unification process is going. And I would say it's going excellent. We are on track, we are on pace with the timeline that had been set out. And it's truly been a pleasure working with Deb and the whole unification team. And I would like to certainly point out that the successes so far are, greatly due to the leadership from Pastor Brian, and also very much from the wonderful partnership and commitment that we are receiving from our co-moderators, both Lorraine and Tom. So thank you for everyone. So just a few highlights of the first few months of the unification process. Certainly the collaboration goes far beyond the folks I just mentioned, but also all of the various committees, everything from Deacons and missions to our trustees, our music committee, our finance team, our executive council. Hopefully I've mentioned everyone. And then certainly the communication that has been going out from the church has been excellent, and that's really much thanks to our administrators, Lori and Cynthia, and our publicity team, the newsletters that are going out, the emails that you're receiving, the direct mailings that have taken a lot of work, and then certainly the social media. So we've done a really great job communicating to the community and all of the great things, and it's working. Some other highlights, I would say, I'm thankful for the additional voices in our choir, and they've brought many wonderful new pieces of music from Raymond Village that has been a pleasure to learn. So it's really enhanced that, and we're always looking for new members, as all the committees are. And then also, just to mention all the many events that have taken place, and this is really from our volunteers and the hospitality, committee or team, the potlucks that have taken place, the Halloween trick-or-treating that took place in Raymond, the Veteran Day sing-along, the craft fair, just to kind of get started on things that have happened recently. And then our first Christmas together was really, I would say, magical. I think everyone would agree. We were able to blend many traditions from both Raymond and Wyndham. The different Christmas traditions, such as the candles, the family candles, the poinsettia tree was really beautiful. And then it was also really wonderful. Nobody seems to know how long it's been since there was a Christmas pageant, but this year there was a Christmas pageant, and that was quite a spectacle. So, in a wonderful way. So, and most importantly, I just wanted to mention, that all of you that have brought time and talent, the friendships, the fellowship that has been taking place truly does feel like a unified single church, a one body, just like Pastor Brian was saying. So truly thank you for bringing all of your joy and your commitment and your love and your talents. You've been a blessing in this process. And while it feels like we're well on our way, there is a lot of work left to do. So I'm going to leave that hard part to Deb to explain. She's going to share some of our next steps. So thank you.
Thank you. So I think while we've made an enormous amount of progress in a very short period of time towards reunification, and I think many of us feel in our hearts that we really are already unified, there are certain legal steps essentially that will need to be taken, and the steps will take some time, and some of that timing won't be fully within our control because there are certain things that will happen with the state of Maine. So the steps from here, and there may be other steps that we haven't figured out yet. We're still really learning exactly what will need to happen over the next few months. But we do know absolutely that we will need to formulate bylaws for the new church that we will form. We anticipate the process will probably take about 3 to 6 months. And the unification team has discussed a plan for how we think that can happen, but the work on actually creating these new bylaws hasn't begun yet. And you'll hear a little bit later on in the meeting that we're considering a new name for the new church organization. And once we have bylaws formulated and decide on a new name, and then there will need to be articles of incorporation, and that's kind of really the legal step that the church would have to take with the state of Maine to become a formal entity recognized by the state. So those will be filed with the Secretary of State's office. Some other steps would be entering into a new covenant between our new church, the Maine Conference, and the Cumberland Association of the UCC. There will need to be financial details that are worked out, including creating a joint budget. And once the new organization is formally created, then steps will need to be taken to essentially combine the finances of the two organizations. And we'll probably need a new employer identification number from the IRS. But the most important step and the most fun step will be that we will need to celebrate the amazing work that has already started and will continue to happen as we create a beautiful new church family. There will be a vote later on in the meeting today to continue along in the unification process. I have no doubt that there will need to be other votes coming in the next few months as well. And the unification team will keep everybody updated, and we look forward to continuing this beautiful, faithful journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Deb and Liesl. Very nicely done. We appreciate it. Okay. I am going to turn the mic over to Tom for Article 1.
So Article 1 is to vote to continue the process towards unification of North Windham Union Church and RVCC. And if you open your annual report, you go to the last page. This is from the proposal that Brian presented to both of the church councils way back in August. This is the timeline. This vote today is to continue the unification. As Deb said, there's much unification in heart. There's a lot more work to be continued. The vote today is to continue moving forward. So I would entertain a motion to move this unification forward. Moved by Jean Thornton, which I don't know your last name now.
I second.
Jean, what's your last name? It's still Thornton. Seconded by Sarah Allen. Is there any discussion? All in favor of moving the unification forward? Thank you, everyone.
I see that Pastor Brian's hand has been raised.
Okay. There's really no discussion, no thoughts, no questions about the unification at this time. This is a great time for anyone to bring anything up, or if you don't want to be on the spot, to come talk to me afterwards, or anyone on the unification team. We want to hear your voices.
Pastor Brian, would you come forward at this time to discuss the reason for the bylaw, for Article 2?
Absolutely. So bylaws are a sticky thing. We love them, but we also hate them. And one of the things in our bylaws in both churches is this thing that we can't have, for someone to be a coordinator, a member of the council, so forth, they have to be a member of the church. And we have holes, big gaping holes in our leadership that we need to fill. And we have an opportunity to fill those because, well, this puts it into play that we can actually consider people from the church we're unifying with. So the person that from Raymond can fill a spot in Wyndham, and a person in Wyndham can fill a spot in Raymond, making it able to have a full leadership of our church. So that's the main reason. To get to the nit and gritty, right now in North Wyndham, we can't get a new member. We have no clerk. We need a clerk in order to record that we have members. So my membership paper has been sitting in the clerk box for now 2 months. But I can't become a member, and there are other people that wish to become members too. So we wanted to make sure this happens. Yes, Aaron?
Does it mean that we have to give up our membership in Raymond, or do we just automatically fold over into Wyndham?
For this addendum?
In any of this?
Okay, so the question is, do we have to give up our membership in Raymond, or do we just fold over into Wyndham? So for this addendum, that doesn't play. We're still members of Wyndham, or we're members of Raymond, and we're just holding position in the other church as well. For the unification, not exactly sure yet. I think what we'll all become is founding members of the new church. I think that's what will happen. But we haven't gotten to that step yet. Does that help?
Thank you, Pastor Brian. Article 2 is to vote to add an addendum to the bylaws of North Wyndham Union Church and Raymond Village Community Church as follows. In the case where the aforementioned church is actively considering uniting with another church community, the church, by virtue of a 3/4 vote at an all-church meeting, may vote a member of said uniting church into any leadership/ministry role which requires membership of this church, with the exception of moderator, treasurer, and financial secretary. So, are we going to vote at the same time, Tom, or are we voting individually?
I believe we vote as one church.
Okay.
Because it's,
I question that too. Okay.
It should be separate, because you're affecting each separate bylaws.
okay.
Thank you, John. Okay, so I am going to ask for a motion from North Wyndham Union Church about Article 2. Jim Smith, so moved. Gail Small, seconded. Is there any discussion? Diane?
So what this means is what Pastor Brian was just talking about, is that we can have a clerk from Raymond to be in Wyndham. So that's what this addresses?
Yes.
Exactly.
Thanks.
If anybody wants the microphone this way. I have a question. Is the clerk position voluntary?
Oh, that is definitely voluntary.
I volunteer, Kathy.
That was a good question, but no, it's voluntary, Red. Any other discussion? So for North Windham Union Church, I would ask for a motion. Well, the motion's already been made, and now for the vote. So all in favor, please. Any opposed? The motion passes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, John, for keeping us straight. So for the same motion for Raymond Village Community Church, moved by Rolf Olson, seconded by Craig Messenger. Is there any discussion? We focused on clerk. If you will see down the line that Raymond does not have Christian Ed, Raymond does not have stewardship. Some of those positions would be filled by North Windham folks. Discussion? I will call to vote. All Raymond Village Community folks in favor of this amendment? Any opposed? The motion passed. Thank you. And I'm still up again. Lorraine caught herself on that last motion. She said North Windham Village or
Union.
This is just a discussion item, but we do have to have a new identity. I'm sure Lori and Cynthia have quite the quandary sending things out. North Windham, Union, Raymond Village. The only thing we have in common is church. Folks in Raymond have heard me say for years, it's not my church, it's not the pastor's church, it's your church, it's our church. So as we prepare for this wonderful unification, Lorraine has made a suggestion box. It's out in the gathering spot. And we're not going to pick the name. Together, we're all going to come up with a name. So this is just to get your thinking caps on. What do you want to call this new creation? Like I said, right now, the only thing we have in common is church. But this is, it's like we're having a newborn baby. You know, we're going to prepare. So just put your thinking caps on.
So I did bring the suggestion box this morning, and as soon as this meeting is over, I will put it out in the gathering space with some little pieces of paper and a pen, so you can, if you have any ideas, please, please, we'd like as many ideas as possible for a new name. Okay, Article 3 is to hear and act and accept the reports of all officers, coordinators, task force, and committees. And I ask for, from North Windham Union Church, to move to waive the reading from the annual reports with the exception of treasurers and financial secretary. So may I have a motion to accept the reports? Becky Knox has moved. Janet Morrill has seconded. Any discussion on the reports? They're all in the annual report that was provided. Okay, no discussion being provided. I will ask for a vote to accept. All in favor? And any opposed? Then the motion has passed.
And I would make the same motion for Raymond Village Community Report. It's to waive the reading of all reports of moderators, coordinators, except for treasurers and financial secretary. Moved from Rolf, seconded by Sarah. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
At this time, I would like to ask Jim Smith and John Knox to come forward to provide treasurers and financial reports for North Windham Union Church.
Okay, this way I won't have to go up. We've finished the year with $17,318 in the checkbook. That's pretty good. Usually we finish with around $8,000 or $9,000. Part of it became because for part of the year we didn't pay a pastor. We're just paying adjunct, and there's quite a savings there. Does that mean it's going to do the same next year? I hope not. He hopes not too. The capital reserves that we have are very, very good. We're over $800,000. We will be taking $15,000 a year, or for the next year, out of basically money market funds, because money market funds are not raising anything now. I think it's at 2% or something like that. So we're not going to touch any equities. Equities are going along very, very well. So that's the financial report. We're in good shape. We're solvent. I haven't stolen anything, so. Any questions? Janet.
Oh, yeah.
I was just curious if you could explain for Wyndham and Raymond what part Raymond pays and what part Wyndham pays for like electricity.
Even though I have my hearing aids in, I can't hear what we're saying, Jan.
Oh, yeah.
Give it to Jan.
Yeah, sure.
I was just wondering if either Rolf or Jim can explain how Raymond and Wyndham works in the sharing of the cost of either the pastor or like electricity here. How does that all get, or plan on being divided up? Do we have a plan for that yet?
The answer is no. The answer is really we're running on budgets that were set last year by the individual units. And that's where the rubber meets the road, because that's a discussion that's going to have to be held probably in May or June. But the answer is no, there is no plan right now.
What happens right now? What's happening right now?
Who's paying what right now?
Who's
The
paying
question
what?
right here is, who's paying what right now? Is Raymond contributing to electricity here and?
No,
vice versa?
no. These are all separate budgets that were set as separate units. Okay. Except for the pastor.
Pastor, we split almost 50-50.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jim, did you put that, I see that it's 0 for custodian. Did you put that somewhere else? For the new budget?
What, the custodian?
Yeah.
No, that's being covered under trustees' expenses.
Okay, thank
We have
you.
that group that comes in.
Okay, thank you. I just saw that it said 0 this year. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So that's a different account.
So Jim, can you explain, I think your budget's already been passed. Is that right?
Yes.
No. Okay, so
What?
it is going to be covered
Oh,
today?
wait a minute.
Yes.
Pardon?
Do we pass a budget in May?
No,
No,
today.
We have to vote on a budget today.
Thank you. So so I was confused. I was confused by that. You had a meeting in May, and a lot of things were to elect officers, okay. And then today, you're gonna cover the budget. But whereas Raymond covers electing officers, the treasurer's report, the whole budget, everything today. It just seems to me it helps if we know that, because it's not the same. Rolf? Here you go.
just as a point of clarification, what Jim is reporting on right now is the financial report, which is a review of the prior year. The next thing that'll be presented is the budget, which is then looking at what your expenses are going to be for 2025. So it's important not to kind of confuse the two, because what he's reporting on right now is the state of affairs that's already happened. The next thing he's going to be doing is looking at what's the budget for 2025.
Well, he was not going to do it because Steve was going to do it, but Steve is ill. Are there any more questions on the past year or this split thing? We're running as two separate entities right now. That has to be realized. We haven't gotten to the hard work of how do we put these two things together. Any more on the treasurer? Now, I'll wear my financial secretary's hat because Steve is ill. I have no idea what, but everybody else is ill these days. He might as well be. The North Windham Union Church budget will be going from $130,000 to $142,000, and that's on page.
Oh, Jim? Jim? Yeah, John has some information on the upcoming budget.
Oh, you're going to present the budget?
Yes, please.
In that case, you take the microphone.
Yeah. Thank you, Jim, for the treasurer's report, and we'll now hear from John Knox regarding the upcoming budget.
You want this, John? No. Go upstairs. Jim, not to cut you short at all, apparently you were not on the memo this morning, right, at 7:30. Steve is ill today, and he and I had discussed previously that I would assist him at least in spirit of presenting the new budget for 2025. And now he's ill, so it's more than in spirit, it's presenting it for him, okay? So just a couple comments. Both Steve and Jim have done what I feel exceptional work in preparing and monitoring and maintaining our budgets and financial side of operations here. As we've started to discuss, most of the operating expenses for each entity is handled within that entity. Raymond and Windham are both separate regarding utilities, everything pretty much except sharing the cost of pastor expenses, salary and related expenses. So if you look at page 17, I guess, first, year-end report for the financial secretary. And again, Steve has done a great job in getting this put together. For 2024, we had a budget projected of $81,500. He's pleased that we recorded $97,591 for adult giving. So that was an increase in projected income. That's always a good thing. Against 2023, again, he gives you some historical numbers there of $103,068, but still going between 23 and 24 and into 25, we've been able to effectively manage expenses and outflow of money. So different things have contributed to income coming in. We had a great fair in November. Again, Steve has projected annual pledge amount this year, again, at $81,500. That's on page 17. If you look at page 27, he's done a comparison of budgets for each year, 23, 24, and projected into 25. You can see what the numbers are. The top end of the spreadsheet at total income is projected to be $142,700. Significant changes in those amounts. They all pretty much remain close to the same. He's increased the pledging amounts to $82,000. Loose offering has been increasing a bit, and he's got that up to $10,400. Missions income, he's pushed that up to $7,500 because our missions committee feels they can have some special projects and fundraising efforts to expand our missions commitment out into the community. So that total income is going to be $142,700. Below that is expenses. You see what staff expenses are. That includes pastor, office, music program, back in 23, there was a line item for custodian that moved down into expenses for 24, and that's going to move back up into expenses for trustees in 25. So significant changes on the lower portion of the spreadsheet. Trustees' expenses are moving to $35,000. And again, that includes moving custodial expense of $4,000 from general expenses into trustees' responsibility directly. And we're looking at alternatives. Do we hire a different service to provide that? Do we go back to an individual? Do we combine it with an individual paid position with volunteer help? That's all to be examined and looked at. All the other numbers for expenses are pretty much the same until, again, we get down to missions expense. Increase that to $7,500 to hopefully offset the income and allow them flexibility to move forward with expanded programs. So you see a total committee expenses of $46,500 and a total overall expenses for the year of $142,652 versus projected income of $142,700, which is pretty darn close to a balanced budget, and we'll do everything we can to manage that. So that's the report of the financial secretary, a presentation of the 2025 budget, which we should have a vote on to accept that amount. I guess I'll entertain questions. Bruce?
I'm Bruce Small. I have a question about the, you said you were moving the expense for custodial expense, but on this written budget proposal, it's still zero?
It's included up here.
Where?
It's in the trustees total.
But it doesn't show anywhere.
No, it's part of the trustees' expenses.
I guess my question is, shouldn't there be a line item for the custodial expense? Want to arm wrestle?
Give me.
Sure.
Let me the other mic. Well, we made that decision to move it away from, out of its own line item as part of the overall trustees' expenses. because that does come under responsibility of the trustees. Carol?
When I look on page 29, I see line items for trustees' expenses. And you're just saying it got added in there. Is that correct? I see it.
The budget presented on page 27.
Does
All right.
not have detail for trustees. But if they want to see what's in there, they can go to page 20.
Yeah, the detail of that line item is
Yes.
defined separately. Right,
So
right,
Bruce can see it.
right. So 20, look at page 29. This is the breakdown, and there's a separate line item with it. That's the total trustees.
Okay.
All right, and then that's identified separately.
Now that you've showed it to me, that's great. However, I don't know if anybody's aware, but the cleaning service that we've had does this room, this part of the building once a month. And the parish hall once a month, so they come twice a month. They do half. Is that correct? I think we deserve to have better. So that's why I was questioning this area. Thank you.
And that's what we're looking at. The trustees will be asking for different new quotes from different providers. Let me back up a minute, okay? First of all, I was asked to be on the Board of Trustees because my wife asked me. So you know the answer to that. And then the first meeting that I attended for the trustees, I was elected chairperson. So I've been in the position about 2.5 months. So I'm still getting used to it. And I'll come back for guidance and input on anything as we hit those items. But we have begun discussion in the trustee meeting of looking at alternative providers for cleaning services. Now, whether that's a contracted service or a combination of contract and volunteer, or a contract and a paid employee, or a paid position, we are going to take a look at that. And that's some comments that we've received from other people, that people feel maintenance and upkeep has to be increased and done better.
I'd just like to say to John, I was a trustee for 9 years, and I always hated people like myself coming up and asking me these questions. So I apologize, John, for putting you on the spot. It's something I really feel strongly about, as we have such a beautiful facility. So thank you.
Hey, and that's much appreciated, to have passion about, especially you, Bruce, because you put so much time and effort and energy into our beautiful building. So as trustees, we're charged to maintaining that, and we'll do our best that we can. Yes?
We've had quite a few discussions about getting volunteers to help clean the church, and I'd just like to say that I just don't think that is possible. We're an older, population, and hospitality took over cleaning our kitchen, for example. But I just really am not in favor of putting a great deal of our custodial service into volunteers. Just wanted to say that.
We'll take that under advisement. Yep. Any other questions on the budget, be it by line item or total? And remember, this is North Wyndham only. Raymond will be presenting their own budget as well. And as we move along, Carol's been a part of our trustee group for at least one meeting. We've had discussions on how eventually we can combine budgets and expenditures and do it effectively. So we're working toward that, but again, that's one of those items that are going to take a bit of time as we move along. Okay. Okay. Turn it back to moderator for motions.
Thank you, John. And we really do appreciate John accepting the position of chairperson for the trustees committee. I'm a longer timer now as moderator. I've been moderator for, I believe, 7 months. Anyway, I feel your pain. All right, so I'm going to ask for a motion to accept the treasurer's report and the financial budget, the treasury report for 2024, the budget for 2025 for North Windham Union Church. And I'm sorry, what's your name? Janice. Oh, that's right. Second, please. Bruce Small. All in favor? Any opposed? And the motion has passed. I'll turn it over to Tom.
Thank you, Lorraine. Thank you, John, for filling in. So, as Deb talked, the things that have to be worked out, as you see, financials is one. Both entities have insurance to pay, both entities have electricity, so those are things that are going to take time, but I would be remiss as moderator if I didn't ask for a moment of silence in honor of Brenda Olson, who was our treasurer for many years. So let's bow our heads, please. Thank you. At this time, I would ask Carol to come forward. Carol, step forward to fill a need, to take over, saw the need, and step forward admirably to fill some big shoes.
Are you going to do two votes, one for the treasurer and then for the separate for the budget, or are you going to do one for all?
I will do one.
Okay. Just had to get what are we doing about voting? So, in the Raymond Village Church, which is very small, thank goodness we have Andy Morrison, who most people don't see. But he pays all the bills and does all the payroll, thank goodness. Because when there was a need expressed for the treasurer, and believe me, Brenda's shoes are hard to fill, but thank goodness she kept great notes. It's been very helpful. So the people who do all the work are Andy and I. What he doesn't do, I do. So that's the way it works. You are used to having Brenda's wonderful words written out. I was lucky to get the report done in time to be printed. So here we go. I'm going to do a little overall, and it will end up in the minutes because I'll send it to the people taking minutes. Overall, for 2024, we had a planned deficit budget, or more expenses than income, of $39,274. We voted on that last year. The actual excess expenses for the year 2024 were $41,517. So, if someone is looking at the treasury report on page 31, it goes on to the next page. I'm just going to go by sections. So the first one you notice is we didn't get as many pledges as we expected. Yep. Some people died. Some people did not finish their pledge, and so it was less than we hoped for. I'm going to skim down through income and go to dividends and interest. Oh goodness, we thought we were going to get $8,800. Not likely. We got $3,738. Why?
Well, first of all, we took money out of American funds to pay our bills, and then we took money out of the CD to pay our bills, and nobody was getting the interest they hoped. So that's a reason why. I was not going to do more about income unless you have a question. So for Raymond, I will pause at the end of every big section to ask if you have anything about income. Okay, moving on to expenses. The budget here, as listed, I actually updated the pastoral ministry budget after we had the vote to rehire Brian. Some of the terms were slightly different. That's why we're so close. If I left it at last year's, we wouldn't be seeing it that close. The diaconate was less than expected, and one of the big items there was, if you look on page 32 in the second bunch, you see we thought we're going to have a lot of supply ministers. Well, that's because we thought Brian was going to leave, and here we are with supply ministers. But it's all good. So for admin, we had less than expected in every category except the pianist. Now, we had a pianist, Michael Bostock, who was very talented, and we thought he was going to leave at the beginning of summer, and he didn't leave till sometime in September. We're happy that that one's over. In the trustees, oh, don't we love the price of heating oil. So, yes, we spent a lot of money on heating oil, $91,068, and we'll talk more about the budget in a bit. Insurance was over some, but maintenance was under because we didn't do much. That's the end of expenses, and as I said, we had $41,517 more expenses than income, which we planned on, and the money came from our bank accounts. Any questions? No. Okay, let's look at the balance sheet. Many of you say, I don't know why I need to look at this. Well, you learn some good things. Like Jim says, oh, we have so much in the checking account. So you can see we've got 35,000 some odd in the checking account. We happen to have a separate account for the grocery cards. Rolf tried to explain why, but it's there. And we have a CD that started at 200,000, and every time it comes due, we take off all the interest, and that's what we spend. We're going to go down to liabilities only because there's a funky thing that's been done here. It started with a previous treasurer, Chuck Walton, who said, I don't know how to keep track of these designated funds. We're not supposed to spend them except on the thing they were intended for. One was an insurance settlement, which I think was for wasn't it the Sunday school roof repair? The next one was we had a member of the church, Fran Maines, whom we all loved, and people donated to make the church more accessible in her name. And then last but not least is we had lots of money donated over the years to missions. So these three liabilities are really not liabilities. They're just designated funds, but that's a place where we can hold them, you can see them, and as we spend them, you'll see the movement on them. Does anybody have a question? Nope. Gosh, easy peasy. Okay, let's go over to the budget, which is on page 34 and 35. So if you get like Bruce, who wants to know what's the detail inside of a high-level line item on page 34, we can look on 35 to find it. So let's go to income. The amount listed for 2025 budget is $33,000. Okay, we got another pledge, make it $33,500. Okay, that's what we've got for actual pledges. Made an estimate of what we would get in a whole other things, loose played, additional pledges, on and on and on, giving an income of $39,950. Under fundraisers, we have suppers and fair income, $4,000. There's a question whether we'll really do suppers, or will we ask to participate in the fair, or what will we do? I don't know. So I just put in an estimate there, and if we do suppers, we always have a cost of food, which we track separately. So that would make total fundraisers $2,250. Then you look at dividend and interest. Okay, I made a guess, maybe it was the wrong one, that we might make a tad more than we did in '24. Either way, it's a guesstimate of $4,000. And then we come to the great deal we have now, thanks to many people's involvement. Raymond Recreation is using the Raymond Village Church. Certain sections and all the details will be covered by Rolf. But we get $18,000 a year from that, $1,500 a month, which is very helpful for our total income of $64,200. Questions? Okay, back to expenses. I'm covering the high-level ones the same as John. So the pastoral ministry is right based off the agreement we have with the four-way agreement, and this is the Raymond Village Church portion, 61,518. We don't need much for diaconate because we're not doing much in the Raymond building. Administrative has also been reduced because ultimately the intention is to move the office to this building. However, we still need a computer and an office in the Raymond Church because that's where Andy and I work. The program, the printer, the checks, the everything is there, okay? Trustees also still have a budget for that building. Now, okay, no, I'm not gonna go there. Rolf can talk about oil usage and all sorts of goodies. The reason why the next section for missions is separate is because the actual account that pays for them is separate. Remember that liability of $23,000? Well, some of the payments, mission payments like the special offerings, come in and go out. Okay, that's great. But a lot of them then are just out of the designated funds, which were shown under liabilities. So that's why I've separated them all here, and you can see what we plan to have missions be. For a total expenses of $93,911, and yes, another deficit budget, but less, of $29,211, and yes, we use savings to cover that. What have you got for questions?
Just a quick question about the mission items. Which ones are coming out of the deficit or out of the liability, and which ones are coming out of just our line?
Okay, so all the special offerings, which say mission payments exclude OCWM for $750, are the ones that say pay out of dollars received via special offerings. Okay? So that'll be an in and out, not really total up to the $93,911, but I didn't want to have it be too difficult to follow the math, so I didn't do that. All the rest of those are going to come out of the designated funds. But money is money. You know, the total money we have is the total money we have, so. Any questions? All right, then I'll turn it over to Tom to get a vote.
Thank you, Carol. At this time, I would accept a motion to approve the financial report for 2024 and the 2025 budget as presented. Moved by Rolf Olson, seconded by Craig Messenger. Any further discussion? All in favor of approving the motion as presented? Any opposed? Thank you. Motion passed. I lost my sheet here. Okay, next item is Article 5, to elect a slate of officers and deacons for Raymond Village Community Church, 2025.
John has a question.
No, before we move on to finances, I had one just observation. May I?
Okay, yep.
As we're looking at budgets for these two relatively small congregations, I think it's worth reflecting back on a little bit of history. The North Windham Little Meeting House, and maybe some of you know this and realize what it was, but the North Windham Union Church was built in 1871 and 72, which sits next door to us. In 1871, 43 residents agreed to contribute a total of $800 to build a free meeting house. That was coordinated by Erastus Cram with volunteer help, built the church, and it was intended to be used by members of different denominations in the community. So just remember that as we pass our passing budgets of $200,000 or $300,000 and looking back in retrospect. I don't mean to take a lot of time, but it's worth remembering. Thank you.
Thank you, John. So Article 5, to select a slate of officers and deacons for 2025 for Raymond Village Community Church. Slate of deacons will be Deb Fegans, Carol Gilman, Craig Messenger, Cora Sullivan, and myself. Slate of coordinators. Myself, I'll be moderator. Treasurer, Carol Gilman. RVCC clerk, Judy Munson and Bonnie Wiley. Trustee, Rolf Olson. Missions, Judy Munson, Carol Gilman, and Sarah Allen. Is there a motion to accept this slate of officers? Moved by Angel Donovan, seconded by Rolf Olson.
No. Actually, I'd like to amend the motion to allow the council to appoint someone to a coordinator position if they become available.
Coordinated position if?
I'd like to amend the motion to allow the council to appoint someone onto a coordinator position after the annual meeting.
Okay. So is there, the motion will be to present the slate of officers as presented and to allow council to appoint additional openings outside of the annual meeting. So it was seconded by Angel. It was moved by Angel. Do you support that? Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Craig.
On the off chance that we asked if there's anyone at
I can't hear you, Angel.
is there anyone have we asked if there's anyone currently interested in filling those empty spots?
Well, we had that down the street, but we can do it now.
I think we have to do it separate because you need to do Raymond Village Community Church and then we need to do them joint.
Lorraine thinks we need to do it separate based on the bylaws where we're doing the shared positions. So the motion for Article 5 is a slate of officers as presented, as well as allow Raymond Village Community Church Council to appoint any openings outside of annual meetings. It was moved by Angel, seconded by Craig. No more discussion? Hopefully. All right, let's have a vote on that motion. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Shoot.
Okay, and since we did pass Article 2, we do have some candidates to fill positions, and we need to vote on this jointly. And I see Pastor Brian standing. Did you have a comment?
No, I just wanted to have them stand up.
Okay. Okay. So we would like to ask for a motion to fill Christian Education by Nancy Kelly, Stewardship for both churches by Janet Morrell. Christian Education would also be for both churches. And for North Windham Union Church Clerk, Bonnie Wiley. So could I have a motion for that, please? Pastor Brian? I give the motion. Thank you. A second? Angel? Any discussion? And thank you. Yes, thank you for standing up. This is Janet Morrell, Nancy Kelly, and Bonnie Wiley. Since there is no discussion, all those in favor, please say yes. Any opposed? And thank you. The motions has passed, and we have filled those positions. So thank you very much. Tom?
We skipped that too, right? So now we're here.
Okay, did that.
So
Okay.
back to the old
Oh.
business.
Okay. Article 6, to transact any other business that shall lawfully come before this meeting. And is there any old business that we need to go over? None being. Tom?
For new business, we'd like to bring Rolf forward to talk about what's going on with Raymond Rec and the RVCC building. So those of you that have questions or would like to know, and then anything else for new business we'd put on the floor. While we wait for Rolf to come up, I'd like to thank Scott and Mike for doing the taping, and as well as I'd like to, whoever has the sign-in sheet, if they could pass that forward so it gets to Liesel and Judy for the minutes.
Going under, excuse me, going under the premise that an unused building is a bad building from a maintenance standpoint and everything else, we were presented with the opportunity. Raymond Rec was looking for some space to do some functions and for some office space and things like that. So it became an advantage to be able to do a building use agreement with them to allow them use of the building for the vestry, some of the classrooms, essentially everything with the exception of the office and the sanctuary. But we further wrote into the agreement existing functions that we had going on there, that being AA, being the line dancing, be it the knitting and crocheting groups, the Alzheimer's support group and things like that. We designated those specifically in there so those would continue to have space available for them at their designated times. But the big thing is with the fee that we're getting from them, that's a big offset for us on the heating side, and it keeps someone in the building on an ongoing basis, which keeps an eye on a lot of things issues that we've had in the past as far as not freezing pipes, but leaks and things like that. So we can catch things happening a lot sooner. So it was kind of a win-win situation, and it also brings the community more back into the building to help help support that side of the church's mission of getting the community back in there and getting support from the community and getting people to know more about us. So, we signed that agreement this month, so we did some clean out of the spaces that they're going to use, and they're working on doing their move-ins on equipment now. Any questions? Sarah?
Can you speak about what they're doing for us or paying for in addition to their fee?
Yeah. The other things that I had them pick up is the snow plowing, which has turned out not to be a big expense this year, but in years gone by it has been, as well as they picking up all the cleaning costs. So that, I think their intent is to use the same people and just contract with them, but try and get that, because with the amount of use that they're going to do, they'll have to go to accelerated cleanings on that. So that's on their dime. That's not part of, it's in the agreement that they pay for that separately. Sarah?
Question, is that going to affect us having, if we continue to do it, the church suppers in the summer?
No, I put that in there too, that's an allowable thing for us to do. We would just, if we're going to do that, we just need to give them notice on what dates we're going to do that, so we don't end up into a conflict, a scheduling conflict. So that was a designated item in there as well. Anything else? Thank you.
Is there any other new business? It's been a long day, but before we close, we wanted to pick some people's brains. As we go through this unification, both churches have traditions. We hear of wonderful things that churches used to do, but we ran out of energy because we ran out of people. So we were just going to take a few minutes and throw up some ideas on the whiteboard, stuff that you want to see come back that you used to do. This doesn't mean it's going to happen, because you still need people to run these events, but what did North Windham Church used to do that we at Raymond don't know about? And what did we used to do that North Windham didn't do? Or what's some new event that you'd like to try? This is an opportunity to just throw something on the wall and see what we can do next year, or 2 years down the road. Maybe this year is going to be too busy with the unification, but some ideas of some fun and fellowship things. I know, Liesl talked about some of the successes we had just in 4 months. So throw some stuff up on the board. Gail.
We, at North Windham, we used to be a part of the Monday meal that the area churches got together, and we had it at our church, and for some reason I didn't even know, but we have it.
So Gail said Monday meal. Raymond used to. We probably haven't been for 10 years. So that's something that could be recharged. Sarah.
Our community dinners that we have like once a month or every couple months that we have with Raymond would be nice to continue. Like we did a little while ago for Christmas.
I'm confused.
Our monthly dinners that we've had is a community dinner, like we did at Christmas time.
Is it the party?
The party,
Yeah.
so
Okay.
every month or so.
The fellowship party. Oh, I get mine. So, it was always a thing at Raymond Village Community Church. You always got to have food. So, the first 2 ideas involve food. So, what else?
I would like to see next year maybe doing a Christmas pageant that we would have here, other than on Sunday service, but to have the public come to a children's pageant that would encourage young families to come in with their kids, either be part of the play or just come and watch the play here.
Family Christmas pageant.
I agree.
Go.
One of the things I've done for the last 26 or so years was to have a Father's Day barbecue after the service. I'd like to continue it, but as I'm getting up in age, I'm going to need somebody to either work with me for a year or so
That, oops.
So if the ladies have a tea, I'm thinking whiskey and cigars. Pretty good outside. In the parking lot?
Smoke her out in the parking lot. Actually, the tea is held on Mother's Day. It's a Saturday or just in that general vicinity. And Carol, we also have a collection of teacups and all that stuff. Yay!
Yeah.
Double. And
Wear your
as a
hats.
matter of fact, the men were not excluded. It's just typically the women that start these kind of gatherings. One year we had a young man that was, he and his wife were worshiping with us. They set some move. But he asked if he could bring his mom, who was part of this worship with us. She lives somewhere else. And we said, of course. So John came with his mom that year, and it was lovely. So nobody's excluded. And it was wonderful to have a son want to bring his mom to a tea, because he knew she appreciated that. I have a couple ideas.
Okay.
I'd like to just make a comment that you had a raffle for Mother's Day hats, and I won one year. So everybody's invited.
Lorraine has it.
Me. Doug might be able to answer this, but we used to sponsor blood drives here often. Is that going on still?
The church building still does do it, but I was the coordinator for 30 years.
Right.
Over 60 blood drives, but they stopped contacting us.
Oh,
A lot of times people hear about them, and I don't know when they go on, but they have been still doing it at the Red Cross. Usually it's with somebody like Lions Club or other places like that use our space.
okay. Well, I think it'd be nice. I used to participate, as you know. I think it'd be nice if we could, get our members to help on that, because it was a very worthwhile project.
Well, it's all members in the building too.
Right? What did you say, Tom?
I said there is non-members in the building too.
Right.
Yeah, and I'd still help work with them as well, but they stopped contacting us.
Okay, so I attended a church in northern New Hampshire for many years, and of course it's a little colder up there, and I'm thinking of maybe some activities that might pull in some younger people. So one of the things that we used to do was a moonlight cross-country ski or snowshoe. That was kind of fun, followed by hot chocolate. We can't probably do a snowshoe. I don't know if we have enough snow, but there might be something like a hike. We used to also, they used to climb Mount Washington. That's a little too much for me at this point. But maybe a smaller mountain. We could do Bradbury Mountain or some community activity where we all take a hike together, have a picnic. Movie night. We have a great fellowship hall. And of course, my husband is a musician, and he has offered to host an open mic if we had any younger musicians that might like to come for something like that. And Bruce could play the harmonica. Anyway, yes, Pastor Brian.
As a pastor, I have another suggestion that I've been thinking about since Angel went on this last year, and that's the Miles for Mills mission trip, or it's a walk, and they have people of all ages, sporting, walking, and it's actually kind of a neat mission to all do together, one that we can all do together.
Well, volunteering with the Fuller Center for Housing, and we do cycling, so we could do a cycling clinic.
Great.
Look at different short and longer term cycling to do together as well.
Sure.
Is that a cycling clinic?
Cycling clinic, yes.
And cycling together.
And there are wonderful trail systems in this area that more people should take advantage of.
But I also put in volunteering together for the Fuller Center.
And-
Why don't you go ahead?
One last one that I would suggest, which a lot of youth in our community are involved in, is Kim Donnelly, who used to be here, lost her son. And in honor of her son, Shane, who volunteered in the community, she started with others an organization called Power Serve. And on Earth Day, it used to be Memorial Day, but now they do it on Earth Day. Youth come out and they have as many as 200 youth and other community members volunteering to go work on yards for people and clean up. And it would be a wonderful way for, I've been involved in it, Alan Sample's been involved in it, Jeff's been involved in it, and it's working beside youth. And it's a wonderful way for us to connect with each other, but also with the youth in the community. So it's called Power Serve. And it's on Earth Day.
Great ideas. Yes, John?
And we also, in the past, Music with a Mission Committee has hosted or sponsored various concerts focused to mission funds. I know Don Sample is working now with chamber singers to do a kickoff to their tour in April, and that will be hosted here. So groups and entities like that would be great to have.
Great suggestion, yes. Okay, some great ideas, and we're going to, there's so much to do, so much excitement, so many fun things we can do. It's not just all business, we'll have some fun as well. And with that, I think we will now ask Pastor Brian for a closing prayer. It is 12:30.
Wow. Faithful servants. Whew, long meeting. But go. Go in God's love and grace. Go in God's living love that is in this world. Let us walk in this world with all we have learned and gleaned here today. And let us be at peace, for we are one body together. Amen.
Jim Smith, is there a motion to adjourn? Is there a motion to adjourn, Jim?
I second that.
All in favor?
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.